Hello and welcome to another episode of the Paragliding Debrief, the podcast that aims to take you into the heart of the paragliding world. We're joined on this episode by Luke DeWalt, one of the most talented young superstars in the sport of acro paragliding. He's going to give us a real insight in what it takes to be a champion in the sport and how he's gone about it at such a young age, how he's managed to achieve the amazing feats that he's achieved already in his acro career. He doesn't need much intro from me, so let's sit back, relax and have a chat with Luke.
And action. So as I said, we've got Luke DeWalt on the line. How are you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I'm doing fine, man. Great. Thank you.
Thank you ever so much for joining us. Thank you for being here. I need to clarify something immediately. How do I say your name properly? Is it Luke DeWalt?
Like how we say it in the Netherlands, we say Luc de Weert, but like how you say it, it's perfectly fine. Like everybody has their accent, so say it how you want to say it.
Brilliant. Thank you, buddy. And how are you doing, man? How are you doing?
Well, apart from the whole Corona situation, I'm doing fine. Working a lot, earning money for next season. So yeah, doing fine.
And where are you at the moment?
I'm in Holland at my parents' house. Just working a lot. Chilling with friends. Not flying that much because the weather here is currently not so good. So yeah.
And it's been a difficult year, eh? I mean, one of the things I really want to talk about this evening is just to have a look at you as a young pilot who's come into the scene and is seeing the scene through different eyes. So, I've been in the sport for 15 years. Niall's been in the sport for the same amount of time. And a lot has changed in the sport since we've been in it. And you're coming into it in the kind of modern era, the modern, the modern era of paragliding. And what I'd love to do tonight is to kind of get a glimpse of how paragliding is through the eyes of you, an up-and-coming, incredibly talented pilot.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you haven't heard of Luke before, for you guys who aren't so much into acro, the guy has come from... I mean, how old are you now, if you don't mind me asking, Luke?
I just turned 21 years old. The end of November, I turned 21 years old.
Incredible, and already, and you have been flying at an incredibly high level for a long time. So it would be really interesting this evening to get a little bit of knowledge about who you are as a pilot, and how you perceive and how you train and how you deal with the modern paragliding world that you've kind of entered.
Yep.
I guess where we would start is when and where did you enter paragliding? At what age did you pick up a wing? Did you start to fly?
Well, actually, it started like before I was even born, to tell the full story, because when my mother was pregnant of me, my mother and father went to Switzerland. Yeah. And there, my father saw like a few days they were in Switzerland, and he saw paragliders flying above the mountains, and he was like, "Wow, that's incredible to see." And then he even saw paragliders going up, and then he was like, "Wow, that must be like the best feeling in the world." And then 4 years later, when I was like 4 years old, my father started doing a course. He looked for courses in Holland and he found one, took the course. He's flying now for, I think, also 17, 18 years, I think. And then at one point in 2010, we were in Junipilla for flying for my father. And I also grabbed the first time my paraglider, practiced a little bit in the wind, and then in the end of 2014, right after the Ode Dennis Air Games, I really started flying on the dunes in Holland, and in 2015 I made my first mountain flight. So
amazing. Yeah. And although you've told us your age, my math is that poor. How old were you then?
The end of 2014, I just turned 15 years old. So
wow.
Yeah, I just turned 15 years old and I made my first June flight, soaring flight.
Amazing. Absolutely. And did you know then right away that is where it's at? That's where you were going to go. Was it a sport, or was it you could see already that this is where I want to be?
Actually, like through my whole life, people already asked me like, "Oh, are you also going to fly and do paragliding?" And I was never sure to do it. But at one point I just got bored at some point, and my mother was like, "Oh, go flying, go paragliding, go with your father, go to the beach and practice." And I was like, "Yeah, sure. Why not?" And at first I wasn't like straight away addicted, But it was fun, you know. I was like, oh, it's fun. I can fly. It's super fun.
Yeah.
And then in 2015, the summer of 2015, when I made my first mountain flight in Annecy in France, there I was like, and also doing some wingovers, doing little tricks. I was already like, wow, this is really amazing. And then the time passed, and I was getting more addicted. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And something that I found from guys who started young. So you started young. Theo de Blick started young. Jack Pimblett started young. Bicho Carrera started young.
Yeah.
And what seems to be a common thing is when you start, especially when you're young, the emphasis is on ground handling, getting used to the kite, getting used to the glider.
Yeah.
And it seems to be a real pattern in pilots who've progressed and been able to become good very quickly.
Yeah.
Is there was a lot of ground handling. There was a real understanding of the glider on the ground before you ever got your feet in the air.
Yeah. Yeah, like Holland is not the best place to fly in general, but the lucky part for me was I live close to the beach. On the beach is like, in my opinion, one of the best places to learn paragliding because you always have a nice laminar wind, especially when the wind comes from west in Holland. You have a perfect smooth laminar wind, and you can just practice, play with the glider, run up the dunes, fly down. You can do all kind of crazy stuff, and it keeps enjoyable because you have so much to do. There's a lot of stuff around you where you can play with. So that's really a big part how you become like where you progress really fast.
Holland is obviously one of the it's not renowned for its mountainous regions.
Yeah, I know.
You know, which is another thing that I love is despite that, you've still come and you are now competing at, to be fair, the top level.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, well, I come from England, in the UK, the weather isn't so good. We have so much more opportunity to fly acro than you would in Holland, for example. It doesn't matter where you come from. If you have the passion and the will, you can make it happen. You can ground handle. You can do all the stuff on the little slopes. You can really advance your level to the point when you go to the higher slopes, your glider control is already there. You just have to learn the maneuvers in the air, for example.
Yeah. Yep. That's so true. Yeah, for sure. Like it doesn't matter where you come from. What's quite of essential is, of course, a place where you can practice and start paragliding. That's kind of essential. But even that, it's like if you really want it, you work like me in the winter, and in the summer you just go out, travel for me through Europe and go to the best places where you can fly in. Like my acro progression is not in Holland. It's only in Spain for like most of the time, 95% of the time. My progression is just in Spain. So yeah, it really doesn't matter where you come from.
No, and I really agree with that. And it's a point I want to stress to everybody listening now. If you really want it, if you want it bad enough, if you're really into it, you don't necessarily need a hill. You need some wind. You need a glider. You need to hone your skills.
Yeah.
We had a chat with Paul Tackett a few weeks ago. There's a podcast already out. Yep. And the thing as well, we all know what a legend he is. The thing he stressed was he started in, Hungary equally is renowned for its mountainous regions. And here comes this guy who revolutionized acro. He didn't come from the Alps. He didn't come from the big mountains in Spain, but he put the work in early doors in getting confidence, glider control, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think it also, if you're from a place where you don't have big mountains and you can fly a lot, I think you're even more driven because, like, for example, French people who live in the Alps, friends of mine, you can see with them, they're like less motivated in the summer because they're like, they live in the mountains the whole year. So, one day off doesn't matter. Where for us, like people from the UK and from the Netherlands, we cannot fly as good as the people in the Alps. So every time when we go, we take like every second of our time to invest into flying. I think it really drives us even more to fly more.
So at what point did you kind of realize that you've built yourself up? You're a brand. Luke is a brand. Yeah. And it's a brand that's been starting to spread over the acro world and the general paragliding world. At what point did it become apparent to you that, because paragliding is a fairly small world, a niche market, it's very difficult to rely on it. I've been relying on it as a business and my sole wage for a long time now. And it's a difficult industry to make a living out of. At what point did you kind of go, this is what I'm going to do?
It's super difficult. I already knew when I made my first few flights, I knew like I knew I was young for the sport,
Mm-hmm.
so I was like, if I really enjoy this, like I can make something out of it. That I had already this kind of thinking,
Yeah.
but I was not really committed to it. But
Mm-hmm.
at one point, yeah, my father was also quite playful in the sky and did some acro tricks as well. So
Oh,
he taught me to fly acro as well. And
Yeah.
when I really started flying acro and like realized I learned quite fast and progressed quite fastly,
mm-hmm.
there I was like, yeah, maybe like I can maybe do this. Like I really started to enjoy flying a lot, and I
Yeah.
felt like why people fly, like we all know the
Yeah.
feeling. And when this feeling hits me, I was like, yeah, let's do it. And then after like 1 year of flying more and more, I was like realizing I can do this for sure. I can make a living out of it.
Yeah. And like for me, like the level that you have to enter the sport in now, for me, 15 years ago, there was already the sat, there were already the basic tricks, the combination tricks, the infinite tumble was just starting.
Yeah.
That was the most, what we all know now as acro pilots is actually the infinite tumble isn't particularly difficult, isn't that
No,
technical?
but
It's easy, but it has a high risk.
yeah, for sure. But it's also really the picture of acro. Like this trick
Yeah.
is,
The trick, the one, the
yeah.
most
If you
beautiful
think
thing.
of acro, you think of infinity tumbling for sure.
Absolutely.
It's the trick of acro.
So the advantage I had when I came into acro is everyone was just learning how to do that.
Yeah.
When you're coming in now, that's already been done. That's been done now with a half twist, with all the,
Yeah.
the world of paragliding, of the world of acro paragliding, the level has gone up so much to
Yeah.
now be able to come into it and to be able to compete and to be able to kind of hold yourself. It's a huge high level that you've got to chase in terms
Yeah.
of the tricks and what you're able to do.
It's still growing. It's still growing like crazy. Every year, new tricks are coming out or new combinations. So it's getting more challenging.
And how do you manage it? How do you manage yourself in terms of being able to learn the new tricks to do it? I mean, I know in Holland you've got a toe site. I believe I've seen you
Yep.
doing some stuff on toe and being able to practice.
Yep.
Again, it's about being committed to it, taking yourself out every opportunity, using whatever you've got in
Yep.
your armory to be able to keep practicing, to keep current.
Yep.
There is also a wonderful community. And I think one thing I want to get across, and I've got a couple of stories of when we were in China, but one thing I really want to get across to everyone tonight is it's not an elitist field. It's not an arrogant field. It's not full of ego. It's full of a lot of people who
Yeah.
enjoy doing acro, who struggle to find the time, the place, the weather, all of that kind of stuff. There's a huge camaraderie that goes on in the world of acro flying. When you want to start learning things and pushing yourself on, you've got to start talking to people, and everyone is very receptive of that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so true. Yep. That's really nice about the acro sport. Like, doesn't matter what level you have or where you are, and if there are pilots, like you can instantly talk to them and they become your friends in like 5 minutes. And yeah, especially in the acro world, like everybody goes to Organya, most of the pilots. So it's one big community there. If you have questions for doing new tricks or whatever, like you can always ask somebody and they will always tell you like how to do it. Of course, there's at one point there's like a point where like, for example, like the top of the world, like they don't ask stuff to each other because like you have some secrets for sure for the comms and you don't want to tell them. But if it's like, yeah, if people are wanting to learn new tricks, like you can ask everybody. It's not, it's perfect.
It's not the environment maybe some people think it is. They feel a bit intimidated. They feel a bit silly. Maybe I can't quite get my sat to heli, or I'm doing a sat and the wings flapping. Anything as basic as that.
Yeah.
Actually, the whole community, we all want to be safe. As you say, when you start to get to the top level in terms of tricks, obviously you've got to keep a little bit under your hat. Everyone's working, everyone has a goal. Yeah. But actually the general world of acro paragliding shouldn't be intimidating to anyone wanting to get in it.
No, not
everyone is there with advice. Everyone wants to help out because we've all had to learn. We've all been at the beginning of it and we know what it's like to go through it. If we can help someone with what we've learned, it helps their progression and so it will pass down.
Like we also know it's a small market in a small paragliding world. So we know, like, if we tell everybody how to do tricks and everything, like, they will pass it on as well, and it becomes bigger and bigger, and that's a way to grow the sport as well. So it's really beneficial for everybody.
And something like I mentioned China earlier. You know, when we went to
Yeah.
China, we had that very interesting. I mean, it was an incredible experience. That we all
Yeah,
had.
yeah. It's
Interesting on many levels. But it was a great experience. You know, as a
yeah.
team, we all bonded incredibly well.
Yep. Yep.
And again, what was amazing is, you know, when you do these comps, everyone's nervous, everyone is feeling the tension, but there's such a camaraderie between everyone. Everyone's helping everyone else out. You know, it's a wonderful atmosphere and an environment to be around.
Yeah, I know. It's
You
beautiful.
pull together, and it's, you know, some of the experiences that we have in acro, only people who are doing that kind of thing understand the emotions you're going through. And
Yeah.
but there's a lot of friendship. So you know, you train a lot with a lot of very good acro pilots. Lucas, I'm not sure if I'm gonna say this right. Lucas
Lucas Noy. Yeah.
Noy, you
Yeah.
guys have been doing some incredible, I mean, training together, having a lot of fun together.
Yeah.
There's a lot
Yeah.
of very good videos out there with you guys doing some incredible stuff, really pushing it on.
Yep. Yeah, it's incredible flying with this guy. Like, of course, I have many friends where I'm flying with, like, every day in Organya, but really, like in 2020 with the COVID Corona situation,
Yeah.
I really started to meet Lucas more,
Mhm.
and yeah, we had a project in mind. Like, I had a yellow glider, he had a black glider, and we
Yeah.
all know the song Black and Yellow from Wiz Khalifa. And we were like, oh, let's do a video like on this song, you know. And at one point we were like, it didn't fit with the vibe with the song and the flying, so we changed the song, but still we called the video Black and Yellow. And then we did some crazy close flying acro tricks and like doing the crazy stuff.
It's an incredible video. I mean, where can people go to see that? I mean, you've got a couple of very, very good videos. Well, no, more than a couple. Where would people go to see this?
Yeah, my projects, really, I post it on YouTube. It's just my full name, Luke the Weert. You can see it there. And I also post quite frequently on my Instagram.
If you haven't seen it already, you should go and see some of Luke's videos. They're absolutely brilliant. And do you find, like, training with other people, like training with Lucas, does it help you progress? Because then you start to have fun around each other. It takes a bit of pressure away. It kind of, you're having fun with your friends, you're practicing maneuvers in a more relaxed way.
Yeah.
Does it help you to train with friends and kind of push each other on that little bit?
Yeah, for sure. Like with another friend of mine, a good friend of mine, Mael Jimenez.
Yes.
He was really the first person where I really started to fly together.
Yeah.
And if you fly together and you have like a certain level and you cannot do all the tricks, it's always fun. It's a fun and really good way to train because, like, for example, Mael did twisty flip, I think. Twisty flip to heli. And then I never tried it before, and I was like, okay, let's try it. And I went twisted, took a pitch pendulum, pulled the glider, pulled the Misty. Of course, it was super horrible. It was my first time. But then you look at each other, and then he does the trick again, I do the trick again, and like you switch the roles every time. And like we learned this trick, I think in 15-30 minutes. Like we managed to do it. Like it was super fast, super quick, and it was a super fun way to do it. So.
And do you think that would have happened had you not have both been doing it? Where you know, again, you just have this kind of confidence if you got someone flying next to you. You know, do you think like, it would have happened as quickly if it hadn't been the two of you working together on it?
If Mael didn't pull the trick, it would for sure took me longer to, for sure, like do the trick for the first time, and it would also be more boring because there's also when you fly together, there's a little challenge. It's like he does the trick, but you also want to do the trick before he does it perfectly, you know. So it's a little competition, and that's what makes it super fun. And you train so much faster. It's crazy how it works.
Absolutely. And a question that a lot of people have. So a lot of basic acro pilots or amateur acro pilots get scared. And what they don't realize is when they're watching you guys, you know, they're watching your YouTube channel, they're on your Instagram, they're watching all these lovely videos that go on. And of course, you know, you only post the best of your footage. You don't generally post the bits that went a little bit.
Well, actually, we had one, how do you say?
Did you?
Fuck up video, and we posted it on YouTube as well. And right now, it's my most viewed video. So.
There you go.
Yeah.
Because it shows the human side, you know. And what I want to ask you is, how do you deal with the fear? We all get a little bit scared out there. We all get in a box. We all want to try something new. How do you deal with the fear? Do you get scared?
Right now, of course, the more you fly and the more tricks you do, the fear gets less and less and less. Yeah. But when I started to fly acro, if you see the footage of my face before a run, It's like you can see I'm horrified. Like you can see in my face, I'm so scared.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really dealing with fear. Like if you do it and you keep pushing all the way through the fear, there's like a better side after you do the trick. So like, it's most of the time irrational fear. Like I know in my head I have 2 reserves, sometimes even 3, depends on the harness. I watched videos, like I prepared myself like mentally perfectly for the next trick I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then I was like there's actually nothing that could go wrong.
Yeah.
So it was with helicopters. I had this fear. And then at one point I just pulled a deep stall, started the helis, and of course it's scary, but I still did it. And yeah, after you've done it, you're like, oh, that wasn't scary at all. And then you try it again,
Yeah.
And then of course you have the new trick, you have the same fear, but a little bit less. And when time progresses, like fear gets less and less and less. It's just, you have to prepare yourself mentally before you do the trick, like watch videos, simulate it when you're on the ground, like use your hands, like when you're just standing on the ground, feeling like you're flying. Yeah, like nothing goes wrong. So, but for sure, I was scared, like hell. I was horrified.
I mean, I love it. So everything you said there is perfect. And this is what I want to get across to people. Visualization is absolutely key. You can't be up there trying it for the first time without you have to think about it. You have to put your mind through it. You have to understand what it is you're going to try and do.
Yeah.
When you actually come to do it, if you've visualized it enough times, it's only the physical feeling of the maneuver that is added. You've already been there in your head. And again, what you say, which is what you've said to me, Paul Tackett, Jack Pimblett, Sebastian Kahn, is on the opposite side of this fear barrier is an incredible amount of joy, an incredible amount of confidence. Mm-hmm. And we do as humans, we tend to build things up a lot more in our mind. We start to worry about a lot more, when actually, if you just kind of focus, get on with it, you break through that barrier. And on the other side of that fear barrier is so much confidence and joy, as I said.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's perfectly how you said it, for sure. Like, I always prepared myself mentally perfectly. Like when I'm in Holland, I don't fly that much, and then I was just watching videos, simulating. And the moment I was flying, I just did a trick. Of course, it's scary, but I just did the trick. And at the other side, there's joy. What you just said, it's perfect.
But it's brilliant to hear. It's really good to know that everybody, it doesn't matter who you are, we all feel fear.
Yeah.
If we didn't, I think that would be a problem. We would be overconfident. If we didn't have fear, you know. If you have fear, it makes you think, it makes you concentrate, it makes you be aware. Yeah. And I keep hearing a lot of pilots look at you guys, you know, the really good guys in the videos on the acro scene, on the world tour, and it's like you're a different species, but you're not. You're a pilot and a human, and you have to do the same with the glider that anyone else does.
For sure.
It's just mentally how you deal with it.
Yeah, exactly. So true. Exactly this. Yeah. Nothing more to say. It's exactly like this. Yeah.
I tell a story about when we were in China. So I get pilots all the time saying, you know, ground landing. Well, I did a little bit. I do this, I do that. And when you get to a certain level, they think that you don't need to do it anymore. Yeah. I remember being in China. Any time we were waiting to launch, the weather wasn't quite good, the wind was over the back. You guys, all of us, really, we were all getting our wings out and practicing, you know. And there were a very good caliber. You know, yourself, all the other guys that we had there, Sebastian, you know, everybody, a very good caliber of pilot. What did we do? We got our gliders out and we practiced.
Yep. Exactly.
That's what keeps you current. And a lot of pilots kind of go, well, when you get to your level, obviously you turn up. If the conditions aren't perfect, you'll have another coffee, sleep in the van.
Yeah.
What makes you good, what makes you current and as good as you are is at any opportunity, if it's daylight and it's not raining, you've got your glider at the bag and you're practicing.
Yep. True. Yeah, I'm still ground handling a lot. Like I fly still on the beach when the weather is good, and I still ground handle. Like when I'm not flying, I'm just pulling up my glider and just playing and having fun. You know. Like also when I'm flying on the beach when the wind is good, like I don't actually fly that much. I'm more doing also like stabilo touches on the ground, spin landings, landing on specific objects. You know, playing around. I'm not actually flying like from left to right all the time. I'm not even doing that at all. So
And it's a different sport. On the ground, it's a different sport. Ground handling, messing about, swooping, it's a sport in itself. You don't have to be 50 foot above the dude. Just playing is a sport in itself, and it's having fun. And what a lot of pilots neglect is they're a little bit scared of launching. They're a bit worried about their gliders on the ground. If you're not comfortable with your glider before you take off, how are you going to make a good flight? How are you going to be able to progress? Because already you have a seed of doubt. You have a lack of confidence in your ability to control the glider just to get to the box, as it were.
Yeah, exactly. No, true, for sure.
And what's next for Luke? So, unfortunately, as we spoke about earlier before we started recording, this year, or now it's coming on to more than a year, has robbed us, it's robbed us of a year out of our career. You're a young lad, you're aspiring, you're really bursting onto speed, and all of a sudden the handbrake's been pulled on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How have you got through this time? And what's next for Luke?
Like the COVID year, last year, it was, a difficult but also beneficial situation. Because we had no competitions. Like we had the World Championships planned, and it will be my first World Championship, so I was super excited. But now, like, everything was cancelled, and of course I wanted to fly. I wanted to leave my country and fly as well, anyways. So I took my car, drove to Organya anyways, and it was just 3 months every day training. Like it was. Like for the French people, they fly the whole year, like a whole year around. They can prepare for the comps. Mm-hmm. And for us, it's more difficult because you go there, you train, and you also have to do the competition. So this year for me was really like a year where I could catch up and train really hard because it was 3 months full of training. And the most progressions like I've ever had was last year. So I feel really prepared for the World Championships for this year. So that's why it was quite kind of beneficial for me, and that was nice.
That's good. It's nice to hear there's a positive side to it.
And I also socially I learned a lot of new people in Organya. Like I didn't know there were younger people like my age just living there, and I met some people, some really nice friends, and now they're like super good friends. Like I hang out with them like every day, almost every day, every evening, just chilling with them, It was amazing. And also Lucas and Maël, they joined. It was like a big party for all of us. It was amazing.
You're sharing the passion.
Exactly.
You're all sharing the passion.
I took one of them for a tandem flight because they've never done a tandem before. So it was a different year, but it was for sure it was one of my best years as well. So
and when all this ends, what's your plans for the future? Where do you want to be? How you're only 22. You've got an entire lifetime to come in the sport. Where does it go from here? What's your mindset in terms of pushing your career in the sport on?
For sure. Like in 2019 I became 5th in the World Cup, so that was the pre-World Championships actually. And that was for me like eye-opening. I was like, wow, like when I started to fly, it was the goal to become like top 5. And I did this in my first full competition season. So it was super eye-opening for me. And also I competed in the acro game for the first time. And I qualified for the battles, and that was for me like I never expected it to happen. I was like, I'm happy I can join the acro game. But I didn't expect to qualify, and then at one point I qualified with just only having 2 letters, and that was quite okay. Like I think Tim Alonso or Theo de Blik, they had like 3 letters. So
it's unbelievable. Like, I've got to bring that up. So if people don't know what the acro game is, for me the acro game is the cream of the cream. It's the pinnacle. There is all of the rounds of acro that go on, but if you want to get into the acro game, you have to be at the top of your game. It is doing all the twisted trick. The level is incredibly high.
Sure.
And for me, it's one of the most enjoyable comps to watch because it is people absolutely pushing the limit, going out there. But even the fact that, at your age, you got in it. And then, like you say, you qualified with only 2 letters. That was, for me, the stamp. Even though you came 5th, for me, the acro game was more of a stamp on where Luke is at, how well you're flying, because that is a cream of the cream competition, and you smashed it, to be fair.
Like the World Championships, like this is a really good way to see who's for sure world champion.
Mhm.
But we have a list of tricks, and we can only use those tricks to make runs.
Yeah.
And the acro game, it's not an official competition.
Uh-huh.
It's not from the FIA, so it's not official. But if you win the acro game, you know you're the world champion. You're like the best in the world.
Absolutely.
So
I think the acro game is a competition for the acro pilots where you don't have to follow the rules. It's an expression session. It's a chance for you not have to be so rigid and anal about the rules you have to follow. It's a chance for acro pilots to go and do what you do.
Yeah, exactly. And like for the feeling I had when I became 5th in the pre-world champs, like that feeling was amazing and eye-opening what I just said. But when I became 8th, like the top 8 qualified, of course I got beaten down straight away by Theo de Blic in my first battle. But I didn't care. I was super happy I qualified. Like I was so happy, like no jokes. I even started crying in the sky. I was like, no way, this is
Do not blame you. Absolutely.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
I was like before even the people who qualified was like published, I already knew I was qualified because 2 more people had to go, and I was like calculating the letters and stuff, and I was like, no way, I just qualified. Like I already qualified. I know it already. Like tears came out, and I was like, no way, and I was like in the sky, like shaking. I was like, this is not happening. This is crazy. It was so crazy for me. And then I realized, and to come back to your question, like what for me, my future, then I was like, I want to do this full time. Like I want to train and become like one of the best in the world and keep that level, reach the podium, and make a living out of it. That's like my main goal.
And you're well on the road to success with that. Where can you see acro going? You know, a few years ago, we were kind of, we got to the tricks, we got to the infinite, and that was a point where everyone went, wow. And then came twisted tricks, then came... What's next? How far can we push a glider? I mean, a glider can only move in so many ways. How much more is it the double twist? Is it the double twist blindfolded? I mean, how far can we push the sport? The tricks?
Like 4 years ago, I was like, wow, there are already this many tricks, and I was already thinking of new tricks. And it was so hard to think of new tricks. But if I compare the 4 years to now, we already have so many more tricks. So like I still have the feeling now, like, oh, we're almost out of tricks. But every year, like Theo de Blic is like the main guy who does the new tricks. Like there are so much more, and like when I see it, I'm like, wow, okay, like I think this is just the beginning. Like the sport is quite new, the market is small, not a lot of people fly, but it's growing every year, and I think it's like we are just starting. Like what people thought when the Infinity Tumbling came out, like it's still just starting. Like we just started. So
I totally agree. And like you said, when you're in Organya, you start meeting so many young guys who are coming through. There is a wealth from so many more countries as well. Paragliding is spreading around the world. And we have a host of young talent, even younger than you now, in a way, you're kind of becoming a senior pilot.
Yep, I know. I'm already, when I see some younger pilots, I'm like, shit, man, I'm getting old already. It's crazy. But it's good to see. Like I see them coming and I see their level and I'm like, like keep going, keep doing. Like I know the feeling when I was your age. Well, it's weird to say that, but it's like keep pushing. Like keep going.
And acro is your thing, has been your thing. What about cross country, for example? Do you do any other type? Do you have time to do any other types of flying?
Like for sure, like in Holland I don't fly much, so when I fly I usually fly acro when I'm in the mountains. But in the COVID year last year, I also went to Annecy for like 1 week or something, and then conditions were quite weak. It was already September, so we took the cross country gliders. Like I borrowed from a friend. I borrowed a Ozone LM5. And just with my acro harness, no speed, no vario, like I didn't have the equipment because I usually fly acro. And also Axel Jankochian, I was with him in Annecy. He also took just his acro harness. He had a vario and he took the Nifuk Peak or Ice Peak, I don't remember. And then also with Ailey, a friend of ours in Annecy, he took like full XC equipment. And we took off, we went up, we went to La Tournette, the big mountain. Sea, and we just went like all around the lake, even went more to the back, top landed there on a nice grassy field.
Yeah.
Did some soaring there, enjoyed a bit, went up again with some thermals, flew around a bit more, and then at the end of the day we just landed. I don't like cross country that much, but like when I had those kind of flights, I was like, yeah, cross country is awesome. Like I need to do it
Yeah.
for sure. But like I prefer to use that time right now and fly acro, so it's for sure something for in the future.
And something we do during these podcasts is we play a little game called On the Spot.
Yeah.
So I've got a few questions coming up for you. Number one is, do you have a nickname?
Not really, but sometimes I get called Luke Skywalker. So, like already my whole life, like Luke Skywalker is kind of my nickname. So, and I like it. It's nice. So,
anything you say on here, of course, anyone who hears this, the next time they see you is be, hi, Luke Skywalker.
Yeah. Yep.
What is your best advice for a new pilot? Whether it's a new pilot starting the sport, whether it's a new pilot, and I think, to be honest, with your background and where you are in the sport, this is probably more applicable to a new acro pilot. What's your advice to guys starting out that want to be you?
Like, if you really start with flying, it's ground handle a lot. And if you really want to start like flying acro and you're a beginning acro pilot, do a lot of research. Of course, ground handle a lot, but also do a lot of research. Like when you're not flying, watch videos, ask people how to do tricks, simulate it, like stay in your bedroom and just feel like you're flying and do all the tricks in your mind and just try to become like you're flying in your room. And this is what really helps me as well, like just simulating mentally in my head, knowing how to do the tricks. And this really prevents like from shit happening. Like when you will do the trick for the first time, afterwards you will succeed like first try. So it's amazing how this will work. So
What? Now, I'm not sure if this one will apply too much. What is your favorite gadget in the air? Now, being an acro pilot, we don't tend to go with many gadgets. Do you have a particular gadget that you take up that is your favorite gadget, whatever it might be?
It's two gadgets actually. Like they're kind of combined. It's my speaker, my Bluetooth speaker.
Yes.
I cannot fly without my Bluetooth speaker. Like I need music behind my ears. It's amazing. It's super inspirational, motivational, everything. Like you fly so much better. And my phone.
On this point, now, yes, because if you don't have your phone, you don't have the music.
Yeah.
Now, some people say, why don't you use headphones? Now, I remember being in Organya. I remember being in Turkey at the Air Games, and there are 50 acro pilots all playing a slightly different version of hard trance, drum and bass, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Why not headphones? Why the Bluetooth speaker?
I got this question before, and it's the reason like you're flying with like on average 30 kilometers per hour. So there's a lot of wind going on around your ears. And if you put in headphones, like it's straight into your like eardrums. And because of the wind, you cannot hear the music that well. So you put on the volume, and that's super bad for your ears. Like already flying just normally and the wind around your ears is not really good for your ears. And then also putting in headphones or earbuds and putting the volume super loud, it's gonna ruin your ears. So, and it's also like a speaker is so much nicer because when you fly straight, you hear the music like on normal like volume. And then when you go like take speed, the music just fades away. And when you go into a combination or trick, when you go to dynamic full stall, for example, like the 1-2 seconds where you're like there's no wind at all, there's nothing, and you can hear the music playing behind your ears. And this just adds so much more fun and motivation to your runs. Like when you're in helicopters, like you can even hear it in my videos on my social media. You can always hear music. When I'm in helicopters, you hear the music. When I take speed, you don't hear it. Like it's always changing, and that it makes it really fun. So I prefer and also suggest to people to fly with a Bluetooth speaker.
There you go. Acro or XC? I think we've already answered this. I probably know the answer to this. It's an interesting one because some people say, well, I don't really have a favorite. Acro benefits me in my XC flying because of the glider control, whatever it might be. But Luke, right now, Acro or XC?
Yeah, currently acro, but for the future probably XC. So
That's the thing. And what's lovely, there are so many different platforms in terms of flying that we can do. A bit of acro, a bit of XC, a bit of ridge soaring, a bit of playing on the ground. Your top tip for a pilot?
Like we already talked about it, but it's ground handling. Like ground handling, like it's just a must, and it's on top of everything, on all the tips and tops and everything. Like ground handling is the key to success in paragliding.
Absolutely. Now, the last question I have is, and I'm like, some people don't like this question. The question is the best location to fly. Now, some people don't like it because every site, you can't pick necessarily a favorite site. However, I'm going to take a slight guess I'm going to ask you, what's your best location to fly, your best site? And I have one in my mind that you might say, but what is your answer to that? The best location, the best site to fly?
Yeah. Of course, it's weather dependent, but it has to be Organya or Oludenis. Like those two are on the top. Like Organya, we all know. Like you probably expected me to say Organya.
I did.
And a lot of and a lot of acro pilots say the same, Organya, because of the airtime and the atmosphere and everything there is just perfect.
Yeah.
But Oludenis also like hits different. Like this place is also amazing. Like of course you don't make that much airtime. But the whole atmosphere there, I would say maybe it's better than Organya. Like, it's more also social. Like there are more people there. There's like also a little bit of partying there. So like besides paragliding, socially and like doing other stuff, Oludenis is better, I think.
Yeah.
Like you can also swim there. You have a beautiful sea. Like there are more activities there. So.
I love that. I would say the same. So my two acro orientated, my two favorite places are exactly the same as yours. Oludenis and Organya. Organya is the hardcore training place where you go to live. It's the university of paragliding almost.
Yeah. It's like if you want to train hardcore, Organya for sure. But if you want to have like a good lifestyle and fly a lot, Oludenis.
Brilliant. That's a very good answer. And so that concludes that. Well done. Very good answers to all of those. Now, equipment. You fly an Air G Emily, I believe, is it?
Yeah. Exactly. Yep.
What equipment do you fly with at the moment? What is important to you with the equipment you fly? What gives you the confidence to do what you do?
For me personally, like I always wanted to fly the best glider for my level. Like when I started to fly, I wanted to fly the perfect size and glider to progress as much as possible. Like my thought process was like I have to progress as much as possible, so I need the right material.
Yeah.
And like for beginner acro pilots, like you would take, for example, the Blackout from U-turn or the RG Emily piece. And in my opinion, like of course I'm sponsored by them, so I can of course make everything beautiful. But there's they're like I don't want to get sponsored by a paragliding brand where I don't like to fly the glider. Like I really flew this glider already before, and I just personally I liked it more. Like the helicos were just easier for me, and the whole style and of the glider and the movement and everything was just, for me personally, I like the RG Emily piece better. So that's why I'm also in the team with them now, because I just like the company and the glider. That's the whole reason.
And you made your own choice. You used to fly a Blackout. You made your own choice to swap, and then you got picked up by them. But that was you were doing it not because of a sponsor or a company. You were doing it because you felt that was a better glider for you at the time.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole reason. Like I was never in the U-turn acro team, but like at one point they asked me as well. But I just preferably like I flew the Emily piece. I just like it a bit more. It's the gliders are quite similar. Like it's not a bad choice to go for a Blackout. But personally for me, I just like the Emily more.
Brilliant. Great answer. I mean, I fly a Blackout. And for the untrained eye, for the amateur pilot, there's not a great deal between them.
No.
But it's really interesting for you. I know you go to the kit that works for you. It's not about a brand. It's not about sponsorship. It's about being on the kit you're comfortable with. What do you use harness-wise, reserve-wise? What makes you or keeps you feeling safe in here?
For I think 3-4 years, I fly the Acro 3 now from Sub Air. But for next season, I will change to the Acro 4 because my harness is currently getting quite old. So
people might right now just go, he didn't say the Avasport base. He didn't say the Sub Air base. Luke's not using a base harness. I mean, this is revolutionary because for people at the moment in their mind is everyone must fly in a base. It's you don't, and look at the level of tricks you're doing. You don't fly in a base.
No, like the base system, it's a really good like system. Like the harnesses from Ava or Sub Air, or now the new harness from Veso Ovtcharov.
Yes.
Like he made a new harness. Like the base systems are really good. Like for example, when you fly in El Hierro, the Canary Islands, you fly with super strong wind. So I would highly suggest to fly with the base harness because of the strong wind. But for me, like the base harness, yes, it's nice. I want to fly it, but what I don't like is when I fly a base harness in training and then have to switch to a non-base harness in competition.
Yes.
And then people say, oh, but you can take out the base system. But like, I don't want to do all that because the weight in the harness different and like.
Absolutely. And what's the point? Is it, you know. And what people might be wondering is what you mean by that. So what you mean is when you're doing comps and you're raft landing, the likelihood is you're going to go into the water.
Yeah.
You've got to dry, you've got to pack. Well, with the base system, that's a lot more work to do. So that's what you mean by that is in comps, it's really difficult to get wet, to dry, to pack, to fly, to...
Yeah, exactly. And also a point is like, I like to fly this harness because, for example, like the base system, you cannot use it in every scenario. Like when you fall in the lines or in the glider, for example, the base system is useless.
Yes.
So, and for me personally, like most people probably won't have this, but when I have a fuck up in a trick where I screw something up, I don't want to have the thought process to think like, oh, should I use this reserve now or this one? Like, for me, that's already too long to think about. Like I want to just think straight away, like, boom, I pull the handle and out. Like, that's it. I want to think of nothing else. And when I have a base system, there's always like the small thought process of, oh, should I pull the base now or the Rogallo? I don't want this. And the Rogallo, it's still a really good reserve. Like, it opens like every time. Like, so there's no worries at all. And also, like, I don't like to grab my glider somewhere on the field. That's not a big deal. That's not a big deal. Like,
no, but I've seen in Organia people popping base, and I've watched their glider climb better than they did in the game and disappear onto the pine trees at the very top. That's a long walk.
It's horrible. Like, of course, like your life or your glider, like the choice is easy. Like, so, but still, it's like a small thing. Like,
but it's not just you, eh? Theo de Blit equally doesn't use a base harness.
Yeah,
even now with all the tricks he's inventing. You know?
I think it's the same reason as mine. Like, I think he told the same, like, he doesn't want to have the thought process. Of course, you have to speak to him what he really thinks about it. But I think it's similar to my thought process. So
absolutely. Brilliant. Luke, you're an absolute legend. It's been such a pleasure to have you on the show. I really appreciate the candidness in which you've talked. We haven't seen each other for ages. We're all locked in the hangar, so to speak. But hopefully, are you going to be in Holland this year?
I hope so. Like, it depends on COVID. Like, my grandmother, she also comes with me every year and she really wants to go. And I told her, like, I want to go. Like, of course, it depends on COVID. But if there's the opportunity, I will go for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, we'll keep in touch. Hopefully I can see you out there. And hopefully we'll get a chance to have a little bit more fun when all this madness is over. But, dude, I really, really appreciate you coming on. You know, I feel a little bit more like you've made the world of acro a lot more approachable.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks. Appreciate it.
It's a welcome world. Anyone's welcome to come in it. You know, and guys like you are more than willing to give advice and to help people.
Yeah, for sure. I love helping younger pilots and helping and advising people. So if you have any questions, like, you can always ask me. It's no problem.
Brilliant. And one more time, how can people see all the shenanigans, all the stuff you've been up to? It's your YouTube channel, your Instagram. Give us those.
Instagram is like my main social media platform, so I will post most of my stuff over there. Facebook and YouTube is like my secondary social media platform. So just look up my name, my full name, Luke de Weert. You will find me.
Perfect. I suggest that anyone listening now that you do that. There's some very entertaining, good stuff out there to see. Luke, as I said, it's been a pleasure. I will catch you hopefully when everyone stops sneezing. But thank you ever so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you too. It was a pleasure for being here. Bye-bye.
And there we have it. A huge thank you to Luc de Weert. I can almost say it properly now, for joining us on this week's episode. Super interesting to get inside the mind of this up and coming champion. We really hope you enjoyed it. We've got plenty more content coming for you. We've got some really interesting interviews coming up with more legends from our sport, including Tim Pentry, Jesse Grills, Veso Oskar. I am terrible at pronouncing people's names, as I'm sure you've worked out by now. But Veso, as he's most commonly known, will also be joining us. So stay tuned to the Paragliding Debrief podcast. Check out our website. We also have these on YouTube, and we will eventually be making them a much more audio visual. so you can actually see who we're chatting to, see what goes on in the studio here. As I said, I hope you enjoyed it. Massive thank you to Luke, and we'll catch you on the next episode of the Paragliding Debrief.